Thank you so much for joining us today on another amazing episode of Bioenergetics Beat. I'm Heather Gray, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified bioenergetic practitioner. And this episode is brought to you today by Nikki, Unleash the Wellness Within. It's a non-invasive, easily affordable, and highly effective approach to wellness. It's a wearable device that puts frequency better based life in your hands and on your wrist. Make sure to stick around to the very, very end because, as usual, we have an awesome giveaway that you're not going to want to miss out on. I think we might actually have two giveaways, but you're not going to want to miss out on any word this man has to say anyway, because he's just absolutely incredible. And what he's doing in this world is just so inspiring, for a lack of a better word. Like if there's a bigger word than inspiring, I don't know what it is. But welcome, Gabe Golden, to the show.
Oh, thank you, Heather. I so appreciate that introduction. I think what you're doing is very inspiring.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush. Don't do that, Gabe. So Gabe, I, found you by accident, kind of stumbled into you because you ended up on a list of like people to talk to for this show. Didn't know who you were till I started reaching out to you. Didn't even know who you were the first time I talked to you. And then since then have watched your documentary, and you basically had me ugly crying, all night long, and then very inspired at the end. Like what a beautiful story you have. And just tell us a little bit about, how this film came about, lighting the path, and getting into who is Gabe, and a little bit of your story, if you would.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you found me. I'm not trying to stay under the radar, but it's as a filmmaker, and you're sometimes immersed a lot more in creating content than you are out there marketing it, or even marketing myself. So my journey began at age 14. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Was a very active kid, and this, of course, caused joint pain and swelling in nearly all my joints. And within a very short period of time, I was not able to do much except get on a lot of medications, and for many years on a lot of medications, immunosuppressive drugs that only partially suppress my symptoms, and then ultimately in my early 20s left me with some pretty good side effects, and the disease itself was just getting worse. And so I dove into alternative medicine.
Hold on one sec.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, and I actually had never seen a case of RA until watching your show. So when you say joint swelling and pain, I don't think you're doing it enough justice. After looking at the size of what your joints, your knees, your fingers, your hands did, like actually, could you explain that a little bit more in detail for our folks who aren't familiar with what it's like to live with RA?
Yeah, it's it's interesting because like a lot of autoimmune stuff, you can potentially not look sick, right? But with RA, it's one of those that you actually can see, at least to some extent, people's joint swelling. And I never liked the name rheumatoid arthritis because everybody said, well, why does a young person have arthritis? Like, what's that about? And it's really initially certainly in early stages, it's just a lot of swelling in all the joints. It's not that the joint is necessarily degenerated. All of that swelling over many years degenerates the joints like fire, just burning your cartilage down. But initially, it's just an autoimmune reaction with all of this swelling. So yeah, it swells up elbows and shoulders and fingers and makes everything extremely painful, sensitive, hard to move. Your joints are often really hot, and just full of fluid. So everything is uncomfortable. Everything is awkward. It's just not a great way to be, which is why, with mainstream medicine, the medications are so aggressive. They're essentially just designed, oftentimes even using chemotherapy drugs like methotrexate, to just knock down your immune system completely to the point where that swelling does go down and you get some relief, which sometimes is necessary because these are really painful, brutal experiences, but they certainly aren't treating the underlying problem. And ultimately, as they compromise your immune system further, they're allowing that disease to really take hold in the body. And as soon, if you get off the medications, you're going to be dealing with very severe symptoms.
Yeah, it was a visceral response I got when the camera went in on your hands and then went on your knees. And it was just nothing I've ever seen before. I was just like, holy cow. Like I really felt like the first time I talked to you, you kind of downplayed that a little bit. And then when I saw it on screen, I was like, oh my God, Gabe, like that's horrible.
Yeah. I remember filming. I actually filmed the draining of my knee, like
Yeah.
which is with my phone. I was kind of filming the, and it's pretty gross, but it's the reality of what's really going on there.
It just looks so ridiculously painful. And so tell us a little bit about your story with the doctors and trying to get a diagnosis and that whole part of the journey.
Well, early on, yeah, there was at 14. I mean, my parents took me right to Stanford. We had rheumatology, experts at Stanford. Just at the time, even back then, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, those were common autoimmune. There were a handful of autoimmune diseases at the time, and now we've got 90 plus, different autoimmune diseases, and they take all kinds of different forms. And I think mainstream medicine is just struggling to give them names at this point, and instead of just really identifying that a lot of them have very similar uh, causes or multiple causal factors that are adding up to ultimately having people have these variety of symptoms that manifest as something that we just call autoimmune, whether that's in the skin, the nerves, or the joints. And infection can play a role in this. I mean, in the beginning, I just got on those drugs that they recommended. I was on them for many, many years, then cycled onto a different drug once that drug either stopped working or became too toxic. And in my early 20s, I had gone to film school, gotten to LA, was very heavily medicated, but I was functioning. And then ultimately, again, those side effects kicked in. It was a little bit scary. I went to my rheumatologist in pain from the illness, that as well as having these side effects. And he really just said, well, we actually just need to up your doses of things to make you feel better. And it was just like, I was really puzzled that there wasn't more concern about the side effects. And I had also brought in a folder of alternative, options with regard to diet and different things I've been researching. And this is 20 years ago. And of course, he just said that was quackery.
Oh,
And
they dismiss it to this day. I can't, yeah, you probably just got laughed right out of the room 20 years ago.
yeah. And so I hobbled out of there on my cane, and
Oh.
I did not fill the prescription he gave me, and I just decided to take another path. And while I'm glad I did what I did, I quit my medications cold turkey, which I don't recommend anybody do that. But I dove in. I found a really good doctor in LA, and ultimately several other doctors that believed in my ability to heal, believed, early on in how diet impacts, your health, how emotions impact your health, all the modalities that are out there that we can utilize. Thankfully, 20 years ago, we had things like ozone, even ozone IVs, and ultraviolet blood irradiation. I started on a low dose antibiotic protocol combined with antimicrobial herbs, diet changes, things like ozone. We did ozone directly into my joints as well. My thyroid function had been very compromised from all the years of medications. So getting on some natural thyroid replacement made a big difference just in how I felt. And in a short period of time, the side effects really did go away. It took about 8 months of really brutal, recovery as my immune system just came roaring back after we got off of the medications, and it was ready to fight something, And so that played out for about 8 months. But then at 10 months, I was running to the gym, and I had my life back. And that lasted about a year and a half. And then I had a pretty good setback where my knees started swelling up, but the rest of my joints were healed. The smaller joints, I mean, we knew we had done something right, but it just at that point for the next about 10 years, I was kind of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back on this issue with mostly the swelling in my knees. And that was kind of where I started doing majority of my filming, and then finding other people who had either diagnosis with autoimmune or rheumatoid arthritis, and following their stories. And those led me into people who have being misdiagnosed and who actually had Lyme disease.
Yeah, so awesome. That's a great segue. I was just getting ready to ask you. So what was your relationship and where in the story does your Lyme disease journey start?
Yeah, I mean, I had been tested for Lyme over the years, and had only had like one marker that had been there, where it had said essentially that you'd been exposed at some point, that it wasn't active anymore. So that wasn't something I was actively treating. But it was interesting that there had been so much research on and like infection, things like I had pneumonia when I was 12 and then got diagnosed at 14 with rheumatoid arthritis. And then later I'm getting these tests that say that I have high mycoplasma levels. And that was one of the reasons why we started a low dose antibiotic protocol with antimicrobial herbs and things. And that seemed to really help a lot. Now, is that, infection actually the cause? I think it's a trigger, right? But what really loaded that gun is a whole nother conversation that you're having as well about what is the true underlying factors that all lead up for us to be vulnerable to infections like Lyme disease. But when I started filming other people, I met a good friend of mine, and his wife was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and so we were starting to follow her journey. And then she got tested for Lyme, and was positive, and then she got retested and it was positive, and so then she started looking into how she might treat that differently than the initial diagnosis. And it turned out, like all of these, there's just so many similarities with chronic illness that you need to course change your diet and clean up your environment and clean up your products and rest more and de-stress and all of that. There's going to be certain specific things you might do, obviously, for Lyme as opposed to RA, but we all have to heal our gut, right? We all have to optimize kind of everything. And she took a path of trying a variety of different things, going to Switzerland, going to Mexico, fasting, juice fasts, all kinds of things that everything helped. Like it had me, there were things that help you along the way. And then for some reason, it's like the body would reset back, or you might initially have some progress that holds, but then you don't get to the finish line. And that becomes a real mystery with these chronic illnesses, is why we can't get to the finish line.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really heartbreaking to see all the roller coaster rides of both your stories, if you're doing great and then crash and burn and she's back in a wheelchair and you're crawled up and, in the fetal position in your bed, and being miserable. And I just was like, oh, it was just so heartbreaking. But um, so what prompted you, or what made you think of, back in the day when you were younger, hey, I should start documenting this?
In the beginning, it was, I mean, having been to film school and usually aiming the camera in one direction, not at myself, but
Right.
as my story started to unfold, and especially when I started to get some progress early on, you'll see in the film. I mean, I'm much younger. We did some early filming,
Yeah, I wasn't
and
expecting that. I was like, oh, look at young
right,
Gabe.
yeah, it's a little shocking, the dark hair, and but it's it was good to capture those early moments, just initial visits to my alternative practitioner, ozone injections in the knee, some early stuff that we did, and then documenting that early success I had. Then, as I had this setback, I kind of filmed here and there, but I kind of took a long break as well on the filming while I was just sort of searching. And kind of, I originally decided, well, if let's just film this and see what it ends up being. Ideally, maybe it'll be a recipe, for health. Hey, this is what I did. This is what others can do. It ended up not being nearly that simple because everybody's healing journey is unique. But it inevitably, every time we share stories and every time we're in this community like you're creating, we're not only knowing we're not alone, but we're sharing what works, what didn't work, and supporting each other. And I think that's really so essential.
Absolutely. Hey, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I know you spent a lot of time filming at a specific location, at a specific clinic in Arizona, but I want to dive a little deeper into some of the tools, especially any bioenergetic tools that you may have used to kind of help you along your way. Because, here at Nikki, being a bioenergetic company, especially our hearts are definitely with folks with Lyme. That's how we got started. Really love to talk about all the tools because there is no one size fits all, right? And, there's so many different things that you do have to take into consideration when healing. You can't just focus on treatment, which is, a big pet peeve of mine for so many folks out there. But, that's one thing I love about the bioenergetics is it kind of looks at the body in a whole different way than we're used to. So anywho, I digress. Let's take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. And like I said, stick around till the end because we still got that big giveaway. Don't go anywhere.
My Nikki helps me sleep better at night and helps me feel less stressed. better life, guaranteed. If Nikki doesn't improve your wellness and sense of well being in 30 days, send it back for a full refund. Free shipping, free platinum set of frequencies for life, 30-day money back guarantee. Nikki, be better, do better. We are Nikki.com.
Awesome. Welcome back. Yay. Let's dig a little deeper into some of the, like I said, you did some filming in a clinic in Arizona. What were some of the tools that you were kind of exposed to throughout your journey with RA and Lyme and mycoplasma and stuff like that? What were some of the ones that you were like absolute fail? And what were other ones that you were like, these were absolutely incredible? And yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, everybody always asks, like, even after they watch the film, and they've asked myself and those of us that are in the film, it's like, what did you like? What really worked, And it's this collective, experience of different things that kind of add up. I think, initially, especially 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when supplements became this thing, it became this idea of like, I just need all these inputs. I need to bring in all these things. I just don't have enough nutrients, or I need to detox and use this, or if I have infection, I need this outside thing. And those can be helpful, but I think a lot of us just tried a lot of different supplements and some modalities that, while things like acupuncture are great, or you'll visit a nutritionist or someone who recommends a certain type of modality, it's not that that modality might not be effective or harmless to you, but is it really where you should put your money and your time? And I think that's what we all went through, a lot of different things that became a lot of work too. Sometimes you get these home regimens, or you do enough Google searching and you come up with this whole thing of like, wow, I've got to spend all day healing. And that's a lot to do, right? It shouldn't be a lot of work to heal. I mean, you ultimately can integrate steps and lifestyle habits and things, but when it becomes a stress, that is just not going to work very well for you. So when I was filming, we went to this center, the Biomed Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. They have two clinics now, one in Rhode Island, and we visited Dr. Jeff Drobot there, an incredible physician, treats a lot of professional athletes, also treats a lot of chronic illness patients. His center is state of the art. I mean, like a real true biohacking facility that's actually a clinic, though. He actually has medical physicians there. They're not just doing biohacking tools. But when we got there, one of the women in the film who had Lyme disease and had been on a very aggressive regimen of herbs and IVs, home IVs, and all kinds of things. She got there and he just looked at everything and he said, you're on the right track, but we're going to make this a little simpler. And he did a variety of diagnostics on her and ultimately on me that really gave him a lot more information about what could the body handle, like where was her nervous system at, doing heart rate variability testing on the nervous system, seeing that imbalance in the parasympathetic sympathetic dominance, learning from him that if your body's in this really sympathetic dominant state, you can do all kinds of modalities and supplements and great diet. But if your body's not in a state where it feels safe to heal, then you're not likely to heal or incorporate those things. And having those kind of tools, those kind of diagnostics were really key. We did something called computer regulation thermography, which tests 119 points from your head down to just below your belly button. And that will measure like all the meridians and how they go through the organs and whether those organs are heating, whether they have blood flow or don't have enough blood flow. It tells them a lot of information about what system is weak and how to prioritize where to focus therapies and different things that might work to either cleanse the lymphatic system. Maybe that needs to be, and almost in every case, the lymphatic system needs to be addressed. And it can be done with home stuff as well as technology that can really help get that lymphatic system moving. And they have all kinds of really cool ways of doing that. There's a really great treatment there now called the Flowpresso, which is a really lovely treatment. I
God
mean,
bless you.
I know, right? if you and I understand you're going to go to Arizona, you'll have the chance to do the Flowpresso if you haven't done
Actually,
one.
this episode should come out the exact week that I'm actually in Arizona checking this place out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Flowpresso, you get to lay down in this big suit, and it's almost you just get wrapped up in this really warm suit that they fill with air and pressure and heat, and it essentially squeezes and massages your body and your lymphatic system with heat. You can practically fall asleep, and it's great both for lymphatic drainage, but it also really relaxes your nervous system. And what he'll do is with all of these incredible treatments they have there, from PEMF and infrared light, light therapy beds, hyperbaric oxygen, cold plunges and heat therapy, and they've got all kinds of different IVs. He'll take a look at where you're at, what your diagnostics are at, and say, okay, this is what your body can handle today, and here's what we're going to do. And so at the clinic, it's a great place to start and get these treatments. And then he also can put together a great home protocol that he did for all of us, which includes some homeopathics and diet changes and some supplements, but also getting infrared light therapy at home or getting some devices you can use at home. And so as we all, went through this in the film and incorporated this, I mean, it wasn't like it was overnight. It took time. It took about a year, I think, before we all saw significant changes. But as we did, that was when amazing leaps started to happen, and I think and ultimately some pretty good endings to the movie, which I had no idea how it would end. So,
Thank God.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's what screwed me up with the Under Our Skin, one of the very first Lyme documentaries that came out there. It was just so dark and heavy, and there wasn't a happy ending at the end. I didn't realize it was a two-parter, and the happy ending stuff was in the second part, which came out years later. But that first part really just made you kind of want to jump off a cliff. Like it was tough to watch.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of wondered with yours. I had no idea. I was like lighting the path. I thought it was like a spiritual, uplifting, inspiring journey. I had no idea where I was going to take him down to the depths that night. Like it was tough, but it was tough only because, I lived that, and it's hard to re-see it, on screen, and it kind of takes you back to your own journey, because a lot of times when you get better, you kind of kick dirt over that and move on, right? You don't think about it much, but that was the beautiful part about that part in the film too, when you're at the clinic, because it's showing all the different modalities. And that's what I love about being a biohacker and being with Nikki, because there is no one size fits all and there's no magic bullet, right? Because if there was a magic bullet, there would be no need for a clinic like his to have, 15 of these really cool cutting edge toys. And it cracks me up at what a biohacker I've become. Like right now, I've got an Aura ring. I've got my Nikki. I've got EMF rocks to help ground the EMFs around me. I've got my red light pad over here. Like you can't throw a rock in my little
Yeah.
space. And I've got like 5 different biohacking tools, but it really does help move the needle. And so I just would love to hear a little bit more about some of your like favorite biohacking, bioenergetics type of tools that you've used.
Well, what's interesting too about all these things we're doing. It's this combination of technology, but then we're actually trying to replicate nature in so many ways, right? If we get an earthing mat, we're trying to replicate our bare feet on the ground, and that incredible benefit of that. Or light therapy is essentially the sunlight we're not getting. Certain hyperbaric oxygen or ozone, is actually, I mean, it's much more powerful, but it's similar to just getting enough oxygen, and probably getting circulation as well as that we would get from exercise and movement. Lymphatic drainage, same thing with movement, exercise, sweating. So it's so great to have all these things, but it's also good to always remember that we have a lot of this available for us, to an extent, for free as well. And so I think there's so much out there, but it's so important to just maintain, do what you got to do for your sleep hygiene, get up in the morning and do what you need to do for whether that's getting outside, getting movement, sunlight, grounding, eating right, hydrating, minerals. Those are your core things that really, if you're not doing that, don't go buy a bunch of supplements. Don't go, spend a bunch of money on one treatment or one infrared light bed or something if you're not going to do the basics, because your body really needs all those basics, and you can do that. Once you've got that, though, I mean, there's so many cool tools now that, like, when we were even at this center 5 years ago filming, 6 years ago, the things he had then, many of them are now available at home. And of course, now he has even more advanced things that are, some of them you can only find in the clinic, but there are things, smaller versions that you can get at home now. I think, we all know about, I'm sure your audience knows a lot about, red light and infrared light and pulse electromagnetic field. I think those are just such basic, great tools to have at home, because they are affordable to a degree. I mean, you can get smaller versions, and they feed, we know they just feed energy to the cell. And when you feed energy to a cell, you can dramatically improve all the things that the body knows it needs to do, which is really the true integrative approach, is to kind of give the body the energy it needs and let the body do the healing, instead of really trying to figure out exactly, well, what is this diagnosis specifically, and what specifically do we need to do for this one thing? It's like, well, the body is doing a lot at one time. It's going to keep functioning on whatever level it can. And when you optimize through really good diagnostics, exactly, oh, well, this system's weak, or that system's weak, you can do certain things. But when you just feed energy to your whole body, the body uses that extra resources to heal, and it knows where to put and prioritize that.
Absolutely. Can I get an amen? Like, it's you're speaking my language, brother. You can't, like I said, scream enough at the top of my lungs at how important it is to dial in the foundations, and so many of these amazing tools. Well, I was one of them. Like, I remember 6 or 7 years ago when I first heard about breath work, and I was such an ass, and I was like, breath work, I breathe every day. If breath work was such a thing, like, why wouldn't I be, better along? But no, I was one of those shallow chest breathers, right? Because I was stuck in fight or flight. So my nervous system was always activated. And once I learned how to breathe properly, and then even stuff like breath of fire, which really helped me move through my emotions, which have a tendency to get stuck. Like, total flipping game changer. I can't believe what a naive boob I was, back in the day, crap talking breath work, but things like breath work and grounding and, getting the vitamin D, chanting, these are all free tools to us that it's sad. Like, even a lot of people I've worked with, and they've worked with me for a year, will still, my anxiety is really bad. What supplement do you suggest that I do? Well, have you meditated today? No. Did you get out and get your exercise today? No. Did you gratitude today? No. No, I'm not giving you another supplement, right? Like, you've got to dial in this foundational work. So yay.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of like this, we're living in bodies that were not designed to do what we do, sitting in front of screens. And as cool as it is, and this technology we have, and it's this way it connects us, we're not designed to sit here and do this all day long. And I think we have to do a lot of things to counter that, the effect that's having. We haven't adapted, to this world. Our bodies want to be outside. They want to move. They want to breathe. And breath work, as you mentioned, is so powerful to calm the nervous system. In addition to just, if you think about how important oxygen is to the body and what it does for us, even if you're just a little bit deficient in oxygen, even for a little bit for a long period of time, what does that effect have? Because, I mean, if you're not breathing regularly, or we don't breathe if we aren't breathing for the next minute, it's over. It's like, so it's pretty important. And I think we're underestimating the power of what that can do.
Oh, absolutely. I've been dealing with some sleep apnea lately, and I'm finding out that my oxygen's dropping to like 83% at night when I sleep. And it's, I joke about the brain damage, but it's legit brain damage. Like, it's no joke. And overcoming that inflammation and the lack of it's been tough again, trying to do everyday things without the basics that our bodies need. And so, like I said, that's why, it is best to dial in the basics. And then once you get there, add on these other tools that help keep you maintenance or supercharge you all to the next level. Cause that's the other part of this program that's been getting fun now that I have put Lyme in remission and reversed autoimmune issues. Now I actually do get to play with the biohacking part of it and just really see how well I can function. Like that part is so much fun.
Mhm. Yeah, and and I think that anybody who's it's hard when you're in a chronic illness space to think of it this way, but if you can think of like, instead of I got to heal this disease, I got to get over this all these symptoms that I've got. What do I do? It's more like we all need to just optimize our biology, and let's just learn. This is information. This pain, these symptoms are incredible information that, you know, thousands of years of evolution telling you something really important about what's going on. And can we listen to that and then say, I need to invest some more time in learning about my biology, how it works, and where is my liver, and where are these organs, and exactly how are they functioning, and how do I optimize them? And then utilize, and when you look at it that way, then you do start kind of looking at it like, I can play with all of these things that are available, especially the biohacking tools, like you said, because this gets to a point where your optimization is not that far away, especially with these incredible tools that are really frequency and vibrational. And as Dr. Drobot says, we're moving from chemistry to physics in medicine, and we can deliver, energy directly to the cell rather than just kind of trying to always stimulate a reaction in the body through nutrition or IV therapy. All those are great, but like now that we've got energy therapies, we're bypassing that and going right into the cell. It's powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, cells communicate through frequency, light, and sound. So it's amazing how we're getting into this field. So we're at the time now. Where can people find out more and watch your amazing, life-changing documentary?
Thank you. I appreciate that. You can watch it for free at lightingthepathfilm.com. You can opt in there. You'll get not only the feature film, but you'll also get a couple of episodes, and for over about a 5-day period, 2 additional episodes that are deeper dives into different aspects of therapies, modalities that we explore in the film, including the emotional component and healing the nervous system, which is obviously a huge part of this as well.
Absolutely. And even if you don't have Lyme or you don't have RA and you can't understand why you would watch something like this, I still implore you to do that, because there's so many folks out there that have been diagnosed with autoimmune. We've got more and more cases on the rise of mystery illnesses, undiagnosed Lyme disease. The point, at some point, you being, having somebody directly in your life experiencing these issues are getting greater and greater and greater, and awareness is key. So you'll never know whose life you might be saving by some of the information that you've learned on a documentary, by information you've learned on a podcast. So trust me, like I said, bring some tissue with you, but also, plan on being inspired as well. So thank you, Gabe, for everything you're doing in this world. Absolutely beautiful. This has been our last podcast before Lyme Awareness Month. Only here at Bioenergetics Beat, we're calling it Lyme Recovery Month, and devoting every podcast in May to ideas, modalities, and products focused on spending your recovery from this life-draining disease. We want you to get your life back. You're going to get some great go-to-it information and tips, and my good friend Ali Maresco will be asking Bachelorette winner Ryan Stutter and popular actor Dan Payne to share their journeys out of the darkness and into the light and recovery from Lyme. May 2nd and 9th, with both of these wonderful guys on both shows. Mark the dates. During both of these shows, you will have the ability to win a new expanded Nikki Lyme. You won't want to miss it. To everyone else, make sure to go visit wearenikki.com/podcast. Make sure to enter in BioBeats for 10% off. And because we love our customers so much, a way that we show appreciation is we want to give away a free Nikki on each episode. So make sure to go to the show notes to figure out how to enter, get the link to Gabe's docuseries, and good luck and stay healthy. Till next time.
There's a new word for wellness, Nikki. Nikki, the bioenergetic wearable designed to help you feel better and perform better. Other wearables just track how you're doing. Nikki is about helping you do better. Nikki takes bioenergetic frequency science to a new level and onto your wrist. Nikki technology carries frequencies into the body to organize and optimize the cellular network, the trillions of cells that communicate by light and frequencies to keep us alive and feeling our best. Physical and mental trauma can upset cellular communication, and Nikki is designed to help restore it. Touch the Nikki screen to choose the frequency you want for what you want to do and how you want to feel. Low energy? Touch energy for a boost. Stressed out? Stress and anxiety is to calm you down. Aches and pains? Choose Nikki Pain. Nikki has frequency sets intended to fight allergies, strengthen immunity, and keep viruses and bacteria at bay. If you're going on a trip and want to arrive fresh and ready to enjoy your vacation, touch travel. And if you want to wake up ready to go, Nikki Nighttime is for overcoming daytime trauma while you sleep. Every Nikki comes loaded with a full inventory of frequency set, including pain, energy, travel, immune, stress and anxiety, viruses and bacteria, allergies, insomnia, daytime bundles, nighttime bundles. Nikki puts a personal wellness center in your hands and on your wrist. Be better. Do better. WeAreNikki.com. The views, information, and opinions expressed in this content are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Freemedica. Freemedica Technologies, Inc. and its employees are not responsible, nor verifies accuracy any of the information contained in the following content. The primary purpose of this content is to educate and inform. This content does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services.